Hello and welcome to the Fully Charged Show podcast. Now, this week I'm talking to a man, really delightful, brilliant communicator and a very nice chap. I've known him a few years. He works for Nissan. He is, in fact, the Vice President of Marketing, Communication, Customer Experience and Connected Car Services at Nissan UK. Nissan Europe. I'm not going to shrink it down. He's just brilliant at his job. And I think, I don't care if people go, oh, you're a Nissan fanboy. I think what Nissan have done, it was Nissan and Renault, I'll be fair. Nissan and Renault, as legacy car manufacturers, have just gone the extra mile and left a lot of other car companies with a similar history in the dust. They really have done amazing work. And the Nissan Leaf is just a brilliant car that they've sold hundreds of thousands of them around the world, and they've proven to be really, really reliable and solid machines. So I had an amazing chat with Gareth. Have a listen. He's a really interesting guy. He knows the business of Nissan and electric cars backwards, and just. I think you'll agree. It's a lovely chat. Anyway, I will join you again afterwards with a couple of bits and bobs updates. So, here is Gareth Dunsmore, Vice President of Marketing, Communications, Customer Experience and Connected Car Services at Nissan on the Fully Charged Show podcast. Anyway, Gareth, thank you very much for finding the time to do this. I'm really intrigued about this. So here's my take, and then you can correct me. The Nissan Leaf, amazing. I still say first proper mass-produced, built from the ground up electric vehicle that anyone made. I'm going to stick with that. You're good. You say that.
We believe it, yeah.
But then the weird thing is, you'd think that, let's say 2015, there would be a second fully electric vehicle that Nissan made, but there hasn't. So there has been a 10-year wait for something else. But in that time, that's a question I wanted to ask you, because I know I said this in the show we made about the Ariya, how many Leafs have been sold around the world, because it's a lot now, isn't it?
Yeah, well over, I think now 500,000 Leafs worldwide, I think, a little bit more of that. So it's really accelerated in those 10 years. If you think of perhaps some of the first beginnings, around 30,000 a year globally, I think, in the first year. So it really grew in that beginning of that S curve. But maybe just to come back on the point you made around why wasn't there something in 2015? Yes. For us, we put our investments into a couple of areas. First of all, into the Leaf originally, to build a product that we could mass produce, and no one had done that before. So don't think we can underestimate the scale of that challenge and the scale of the challenge to educate our dealer network and to support our network with quick charging infrastructure, just basic charging infrastructure, the learning and the understanding of the product to engage with customers like you and me, which we both bought a Leaf over the years, to help us on our journey. And then to evolve from quite a tight range 24 kilowatt hour Leaf up to now, just last year, the 62 kilowatt hour Leaf that we launched in 2019. So we've not been quiet. We've launched 4 battery generations during that time, and just in Europe, we spent over 50 million euros on quick charging infrastructure to support customers on their journeys. So we've really wanted to create the ability to grow the EV segment overall. And then now we're here in 2020. We're seeing the benefits of reducing air pollution, seeing the overall ability to produce green energy explode. I think 20 odd days in the UK now produced by zero emissions energy, wind and air. And who would have thought that just a couple of years ago? So, there's never been a better time to move to an electric vehicle. And that's why we're coming now with, I would say, our third electric vehicle, because the ENV200 is also something that is critical to electrification, because the big growing segment in Europe, you can talk about moves between C and D or families and crossovers, but actually the segment that's growing is last mile delivery. As we move to this Amazon generation, products like ENV200 and the conversions that we work on with partners across Europe, whether it's for taxis or whether it's for bigger delivery vans, are critical, absolutely critical, and that vehicle's been incredibly important for us over the last 5 years. And now, our third EV, the Nissan Ariya.
Yes,
it's
you're
exciting.
absolutely right. I stand very firmly corrected, because I did forget when I was recording that, I did forget the V200, which is a brilliant, and you see them. That's the encouraging thing I always find with that. I remember when I first went to see it, and probably at the launch, and you'd see it in a showroom, and then you'd see one driving along the street, and that was a long time ago when that came out. And now I see them regularly. It's not an unusual sight to see an V200. They are around, they're doing deliveries, they're working vehicles that do that stuff, which is great.
So businesses see the benefit from a tax and from a running cost perspective, but they see the benefit from a brand perspective as well, because you're going towards a more sustainable brand as well as you move towards electric delivery or electrified taxis, and they can present that across to their customers as well. So there's a double win of moving to an electric van from a business perspective.
So the other thing that I was intrigued by, because I went out in my Leaf this morning. Just want to say that I use it every day.
I drove to work in mine.
Oh, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the one of the things that I was intrigued by, and it is one of those, I think it's a dying annoying discussion, but it always slightly annoyed me, like which charging method is better, CHAdeMO or CCS, and all that stuff. And all those sort of discussions around that, which feel a bit dated now. But it is intriguing that you've gone. So the European version of the Ariya has CCS charging. That's correct? Is it?
That's correct. Yeah. And look, to give a bit of background, we've invested, as I said, an awful lot of money, 50 million euros in charging infrastructure for CHAdeMO in Europe, and that supports the Leaf perfectly adequately. It's 50 kilowatt power. And it works from the 24 all the way through to the 62, and can support how our customers use these vehicles. The vast majority of their charging is at home or at the business, and then the occasional top up is with this quick charging network. And the network is both in our dealerships and on the road and on highways across Europe. But if you look at high power charging, the European government, the consortiums of OEMs in Europe, and third-party infrastructure providers are only investing in CCS from a high-powered charging perspective. And with the Ariya's longer range, we feel that customers will want to top up more quickly as they go, perhaps on the occasional holiday, a longer journey that they might want to take. And that's where they're going to need to access, as you go through the 2020s, this high-powered charging network. I mean, today there's only around 100 of these high-powered chargers in Europe, but the investment is going there, and we wanted to make sure that our customers can benefit from that. But they can also, of course, and Leaf will be sold alongside this vehicle, and Leaf will continue to be a very strong product for us, benefit from the 50 kilowatt chargers that are in place and being maintained and supported by Nissan and our partners, of course.
Yeah. Though one of the things that really struck me when I saw the first images of the Ariya and the launch of it was the amount of experience that Nissan have of electric, because you've just kind of referred to it, you now know that most people charge their cars most of the time at home, which is the thing I've been saying for years, because people go, there isn't the charging infrastructure, and I'm always like chewing my fist going, you don't really need it.
There are plugs everywhere.
99% of the time, yeah. And that, and presumably then the percentages of how often people use rapid chargers on average over, now hundreds of thousands of cars. Yeah. And I'm guessing it's quite low.
Yeah, it's grown to about 20% of the charging is now through quick charging.
Right, okay, that's higher than I thought.
So it's starting to grow a little bit, but 80% is still at home or in the office. Yeah. I think office charging is something where, as a society, we need to keep helping businesses. We need to be putting pressure on governments to really support businesses to move towards incentivizing their staff to come to work in an EV. Obviously, public transport and EVs should be another load off the environment that we can take out quite quickly.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, we were filming at a company yesterday, and it was just such a blessing to drive into a company car park of a big factory, and you drive into the company car park and it said visitors, and you go, oh, that's where I park, and every single space had a charger.
Yeah.
Not just, there wasn't like one in the corner with a green leaf painted on it. It was just normal. They'd put them everywhere. So none of us we were all in electric cars, the crew, and everybody was going, this is so good. Because normally we have to plan, you've got to charge that on the way there if it's a long way away. How do you work that into the day's shoot? We didn't have to think about it yesterday. It makes by the time we left, all our cars were full.
No, absolutely.
That is a critically important thing, isn't it?
We're obviously a car company, and we've got over 300 car parking spaces here. And what we did when we moved to this office a couple of years ago is put the investment in for all of the wiring to cover the entire car park. But we realized that maybe only 20-30% at the time would go to EV, and that would expand over time. And you can then stagger your investment costs as a business. So whenever you make a change, we urge our businesses to really think about future-proofing what their staff will be doing and what regulation will want them to do in the coming 10 years or so, and really future plan.
Yeah. And so now, here's the other thing that I got told off about, because Twitter is always good for reminding you of how rubbish you are. I get reminded of that every 2 minutes. But actually, when is the vehicle available in the UK or in Europe? When can people actually buy one?
Well, we're going in stages, and obviously everyone wants everything now. But so we've unveiled now, people can register on the platform and put their name down. You can also already go in and choose one of the 5 grades and say, I'm interested in that particular grade of vehicle or battery and 2 or 4-wheel drive. We call it e-force ability. And then we get through to the beginning of next year and you'll be able to confirm your order. So we're really trying to signal the steps, and beginning of next year we'll start looking at helping customers confirm which version they really want. And then towards the second half of 2021, the vehicles will be driving around on our streets in Britain and the rest of Europe.
Right. Oh, that's really good. And now, are they manufactured here or in Japan? These ones
they're manufactured in Japan. Yeah. If you go back to 2010 when we launched the Leaf, it was first manufactured in Japan, and that's where we're starting now. And I think it's really important that we build the right quality into the vehicle, and then get them around the world from day one. And what a fantastic opportunity to do that with the plant we have there. So it's good.
And have you actually been in one? I mean, have you've presumably seen one in real life?
Yeah, I've been in 3 details. I've been in 3 variants of one actually. I've been in a Leaf mule car where we have the e-force drivetrain, and it's a phenomenal. You can find them on YouTube, but it's videos of it. Right. It's a phenomenal driving experience. We've got the entire drivetrain, but packaged under a Leaf.
But packaged under a Leaf. Oh, really? Wow.
One of the exciting things is you talk about e-force and why is it e-force, not all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, but the wheels just give you the control, so you really have a planted feel as you accelerate and decelerate, so it reduces that sort of rocking sensation. And when doing that at speed is incredible. It's really good fun. So that's one. Then obviously been in some concept versions of it when we tested it with customers. I mean, just seeing customers' reactions and being able to be there during the start of the journey of this car and making those tuning elements based on customer feedback, whether it's to how the car is positioned when you're sat in it, how the steering wheel and the new navigation system there. We've got these 2 12-inch navigation screens that you can use with your voice, with some hand movements and obviously touchscreen. So really tuning that and seeing how customers interact. It's been a great journey. And then sadly we would have been in Japan. Obviously COVID-19 hit, so we created in Europe a virtual launch for our dealer network and showed them the product online last week. So I've virtually been in the final version as well. So all great experiences.
Right. Now, another thing that I was intrigued by, because another thing area where Nissan are really in the lead is vehicle-to-grid technology. So I actually have a vehicle-to-grid CHAdeMO charge unit on the wall in my garage here at home, the problems we're having with it are nothing to do with Nissan or the cars. It's all to do with my electricity supply and all that kind of stuff. But that I've talked to numerous people who have those systems and they're using them with Nissan Leafs. So I'm intrigued to know whether the Ariya will be fitted in the same way, because it's using a CCS and that at the moment has not been used for vehicle to grid. And I just wondered whether you have any plans for that with that.
So longer term, I see more actually the AC charger being the way to get low cost vehicle to grid. One of the challenges with vehicle to grid is the cost of the infrastructure. It's nothing to do with the car. We've secured the battery and the car quality to be able to manage bi-directional charging and vehicle to grid, and obviously using the CHAdeMO system in Japan, the vehicle will be able to do that. Now in Europe, we see again in the investments in the longer term in that area of AC bi-directional, which obviously
you're talking like Type 2, that's a Type 2 connector as well. Because this is what struck me. That makes much more sense.
Because the cabling cost is cheaper. And you don't need to go at speed. It's nothing about speed. No. It's about the ability to change directions rapidly. And AC is perfectly capable for that. So there's a lot of investment from the industry, from the energy industry, and from ourselves in developing and going towards AC bidirectional in the longer term. It's again, as you said, you're going through some teething problems yourself. It's an innovative area. It's a new area. But the Ariya, certainly from a product perspective, will be well capable to take advantage in the 2020s as the technology develops of any changes in that process and that standard.
Right, because that is, I mean, I think that is the critical thing is, as my understanding of electricity has slowly increased over the last 10 years that I've been doing fully charged, I know that my house, as a house, and the equipment in the house, fridges, washing machines, tumble dryers, all that stuff, it doesn't use 22 kilowatts ever. I don't know if you could. It's almost worth trying. But, a 7 kilowatt feed from a car through a Type 2 AC connector is more than ample. Yep. If you need to run if you've got your house set up so that you're running your house off your car for 2 hours when it's peak time to save money, all that stuff, it's absolutely adequate to do that. So it does make sense, and it kind of strikes me it's going to be cheaper. The technology, the box that deals with that is going to be smaller, lighter, and cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they started off at around 30,000 euros for a box. Yeah. We've already come down to around 10. And then we're starting to go to that phase where maybe we can get to 5,000 or 6,000 euros, £1,000 with a DC, but we should be more looking in under the £1,000 mark when we get to AC bi-directional. But that'll come. It's not there today. Leaf works perfectly well on it today, and we've got cars running around yourself, but running around in many countries in Europe where they're operational under the scheme, and we can take advantage of that right now.
Yeah. No, it is, and that is intriguing as well that Nissan have done that, and everyone else has been a little bit more hesitant. And the arguments being that it protects the battery, or they need to protect the battery, and all those things. But I'm very impressed that you've gone. Actually, it's all right.
I guess there's choices to be made, and we chose to build a battery that is very robust. You can trust in it in terms of the any challenges around accidents or breakage. There's zero fire incidents in 10 years of running this vehicle, and on the other side we trust in its ability, and that's why we have the 8-year warranty on it, including bi-directional. Now we also have certain protocols that we run with different companies, so it's done in a controlled way to make sure there's no undue load or pressure on the battery and not too much power transferring out in or out at any one time, but up and running.
Well, I guess the difference between trickling a kilowatt hour into the grid or your house and putting your foot hard down on the accelerator, I would think the stress on the battery is far greater from a hard acceleration. That is asking for a lot of power, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other thing that I'm just going on the kind of response in the comments from, clearly a lot of people who have had Nissan Leafs, love Nissan Leafs, still drive them, were watching that show. This is in like the first 2 or 3 hours that it was out. That's when we can tell when something's getting a lot of interest. And it had, I don't know how many, it had sort of 55,000 views in the first 2 hours, something. So it was clearly a lot of interest in it. But there are a lot of comments about the battery, so that you've got a fluid battery cooling system on the Ariya, which you didn't have on the Leaf. And I have lost some range in the last 10 years on my Leaf, but I always want to put the caveat: I still use it. It hasn't stopped. That it is an interesting step that you've clearly found. Then, what is the reasoning? I'm asking. Behind doing liquid cooled.
Obviously, 10 years ago was a long time when we launched the Nissan Leaf, but for the usage patterns that we were seeing, having liquid cooling really benefits when you've been driving at high speed with your foot, as you said earlier, down on the accelerator, long distance motorway charging, stopping, trying to recharge and then going again, and then trying to recharge and then going again. But the cost to put that onto the vehicle is obviously significant. So when you get to a vehicle like the Ariya, which is designed for longer range driving, not just because of the battery size, but also it's a much bigger vehicle. It's a proper family-sized vehicle with all the luggage and the dogs on board. And I love my Leaf. It's the main car in our family, but it's not a crossover. It's not a 4x4 in terms of its sizing. It's a C-segment family hatch. And therefore, it just seemed the right thing to do, to put liquid cooling and the CCS high-powered charger on it at the same time to facilitate customers who want to do that. But the vast majority of the time, we just look at everyone's driving, forget EVs. Vast majority of timing, the Leaf is the perfect car for so many people because it doesn't need it. And 8-year warranty. When you look at engines and you look at the timing engines start going and needing significant investment in, after 8 years, that's when, if you're running an internal combustion engine car, you're often spending a lot of money to keep them going, and you see them come off and they start reaching their end of life. and we recycle vehicles that are coming sort of 8, 10, 12 years old because of issues and not issues, but because of the end of life of components, gearboxes, engines. So yes, we're, of course, it's a shame and it's frustrating that range deteriorates 8, 10 years, but in the end, it's there with its warranty now, and we stand by. We sort of got the best package of cost versus accessibility of what you can do with it, and versus what most people do with the vehicle day in, day out.
Yeah, I mean and also I think that's the key thing, because the advantage of being old, because I'm constantly looking for advantages of being old. They're few and far between, but one of them is experience, and that I had a load of combustion vehicles, generally very old, second-hand, third, fourth, fifth-hand ones, where I spent an enormous amount of time and money keeping them running, i.e. they broke down all the time. And my experience with the Leaf is literally zero component failure, mechanical breakdown, nothing has gone wrong. I had to replace 4 tyres, and the rear I was really bitter and critical of Nissan because I had to replace the rear wiper blade. But I think that's because it had some very hard-dried bird poo on it. Chickens. It was when the chickens used to roost on the roof of the Leaf. It's had an interesting life.
I wouldn't dream of blaming your chickens, but I'm sorry that we let you down there. But
it was like £9, something like that. I can't even remember what it was for a new wiper blade. But that is literally it in terms of spares. And when I think of the money I would have spent on a combustion car in 10 years and the amount of miles I've done, coming up to 70,000 miles, is extraordinary how economic it is. So that's I'm really, really happy that this is happening, Gareth. It's really it was a really good bit of news that Nissan in particular are doing this, because I'd sort of worried that Nissan have given up and they're just doing the Leaf. So the fact that you launched this is fantastic. Now I understand it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but if you think of why we launched the car in 2010, we believe in moving towards zero emissions mobility. There was no CAFE regulations, the corporate fuel emission regulations back in 2010. It was about belief, and it was about then hard effort and hard work to help customers see the benefits of it so that they could make their choice towards electrification. Sure, I think we would have all loved the market to move faster, but in some markets, the tipping point has come and gone. You go back and you take the Norway case, and people complain sometimes when I bang on about Norway, but it hasn't always been a 50-60% EV market.
No.
That's only been in the last 3 years, and part of the reason that accelerated was the changes in the investments we made in infrastructure and in the second generation Leaf back in 2017. So these steps have really helped open the market up, and you see the Netherlands, you see the UK, you see France, they're all starting to accelerate. And now, honestly, in the last year, the most exciting thing, and my wife's German, and I often teased her about this for years, is how far Germany were behind. But now the investments and the focus from the government and the regions there on infrastructure and on investment and in incentives is fully there. And that market will now open. And it's an exciting time to be launching our third EV, for sure. Yeah.
I know, and the last absolute final thing I want to say is when I test drove the second generation Leaf with one pedal driving, I was told about what you could drive it with one pedal, and I was going, yeah, all right. I then drove it, and I didn't touch the brakes, and I went up a mountain and down a mountain, and it is just brilliant. So is that because no one else has got it as good as that? No other car I've driven has that, where you literally come up to, say, traffic lights on a slight hill, and you go and you stop and you touch nothing. Because the first time I did it, I was going, my foot was like this over the brake. I was going, where's the handbrake? Nothing. It just stays there, and then you want to go again, you push the throttle, and off you go. No one else has done that. But is that technology in the Ariya as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're taking another step with it and combining it with e-Force should you choose that variant. So it gives you another step forward in terms of driving experience. And what I love about the way we introduced e-pedal, though, is that it's up to you. It's totally up to you.
You don't have to have it.
Yeah. So it's just a flick of a switch as you're driving. There's no messing around with a manual or anything like that. You either drive in one pedal or you use two. EVs and autos before them showed the death of the third pedal in some way, but now with the e-pedal, you can go to one pedal driving, and it really is
almost all the time.
Go to one, But interestingly, my wife doesn't. So you can choose. It's up to you. And there's certain driving conditions where you might want a bit of control with two pedals if you're parking or something like that. For me, I stay in one, but it's the choice, and it's the giving you as a driver. It's up to you what you do with it then and how you use it.
No, that is fantastic. No, well, it's really good. Thank you very much, Gareth, because that's really helped you know, all the bits I got wrong in the show we did, and also the bits I left out. So that is it's a very really good to catch up with that. I'm hoping that we'll be on the press list when there's a press car, because I can't wait to see the real thing. But so it's going to be kind of mid-spring 2021 is when we're...
Yeah, actually, I think there'll be quite a lot of excitement around the turn of the year. As we get into the beginning of next year, there'll be some great opportunities to engage. But we're not going to be quiet over the coming months. There'll be more to come. We'll try and bring some more information from the testing we've been doing around the product, what's happening in Europe with the testing as well. And you know, that needs to be brought out and shared with yourself and colleagues. And, you know, just can't wait to get it in the hands of our customers, really, next year.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Looking forward to it very much. All right, thank you very much, Gareth. That's brilliant.
No, thanks as always, Robert, for your interest and your passion on EV. It's great to speak to you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think it was fascinating. I just think what Nissan are doing and what they're going to be doing, that's the good thing. As you may have seen in an episode we put out on the Fully Charged show not that long ago about the Nissan Ariya. So their second fully electric, built from the ground up electric vehicle. It's taken a while, as we discussed, but, you know, that is very exciting, and we hope to be test driving that in the very near future. That's what else is happening. There was certainly one thing you should keep an eye out for if you're in the UK, which is going to be coming up very soon, is the first Fully Charged show drive-in electric cinema. We've probably got to be careful we don't use someone else's trade name, but we're doing a drive-in cinema that is literally drive-in. So it's inside a building, pretty big building. And of course, you can't drive hideous combustion cars into a building. Everybody choked to death. It's electric cars only. Showing first-run films in a COVID-safe environment. Really exciting. It's the one success story that we've had in terms of events this year. We fought so hard for this, because everything else, obviously, has been cancelled and postponed. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be doing loads of announcements about it. You know, I'll be droning on like an old train. That's all, though. So I really hope you enjoyed that. There's another episode coming next week, and we're going to be doing these every week for forever, until literally the sun engulfs the earth. We'll be putting out the Fully Charged Show podcast every week. So please do subscribe to this podcast if you're a new listener and you've just stumbled across this episode. Please do have a look at the Patreon link, which we're very reliant on. There'll be a link in the show notes for this episode. And that's it. As always, if you have been, thank you for listening.